and BDSME Bahrain. My name is Mahmoud Rafiq. I'm a founder editor of the 24/7 News. Today, I am honored to conduct this Zoom webinar titled UK Education Landscape Offers Immense Opportunities in Post-COVID-19 Era. As you know, the UK remains an extremely popular destination for students. For example, in 2017-2018, there were close to 500,000 international students studying at the UK higher education institutions, accounting for 19.6% of the total student population in the UK, 14% of all undergraduates, and 35.8% of all postgraduates were international students. Ladies and gentlemen, UK higher education is a global success story, thanks to the world's renowned university for their quality, diversity, and impact, while internationalization remains a center to this success. We have a very impressive panel of speakers who will discuss and deliberate upon opportunities for the international students, as well as vital aspects of UK educational landscape. The speakers will take questions at the end of their allotted time slot. The panelists include Honorable Dr. Trevor Bolton, ex-Vice Pro-Chancellor, Anglia-Ruskin University, and Governor of the Architectural Association. Dr. Dusty Amroliwala, COO of VFS Global Educational Services. Mr. Vinod Siani, Commercial Director at FLS. Dylan Shaw, Student Coordinator at FLS and currently a student at the University College of London. So let's start with the first speaker. Dr. Trevor, floor is yours.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, and I hope that's showing my first slide there now. My job is to talk about UK universities and their response to the particularly difficult problem we're facing around the world at the moment in the form of COVID-19. The story I want to tell is a story of challenge and of opportunity, and the huge steps universities have taken to improve the situation and to make the learning environment for their students the most exciting and best it can possibly be. And I'll talk through various stages. Three areas really. First of last academic year, and then this academic year, and then I think I'd like to say something about what could be happening in the future as well.
Sure. Carry
on. So it's been a huge challenge for universities, but I think they have responded extraordinarily well in a very short space of time. COVID, I think, hit us all as a huge surprise. Every industry, every company, every business, every university in the world has had to face challenges, extreme challenges, but I think the response has been very good. Back in March of this year, UK universities with a week's notice had to switch from face-to-face learning to online learning, and they responded to the challenge magnificently. Inside a week, online learning was working pretty well. They were able to see the year out, they were able to teach their classes using distance learning measures, using this sort of facility. They were able to complete all their assessments for the year, and indeed in some cases they ran online graduations as well. Of course, we're in September now, and September is the start of the new academic year, and students are returning, and indeed in some cases have returned already to their study. So this part of my talk is looking at this year, the sort of experience that students joining UK universities this year will be experiencing. So around about a month ago, I had a conversation with a Deputy Vice Chancellor of a university. I said to him, how's preparation for September going? And his response was, we've been doing very little else for the past 6 months, which I think shows you how much time and effort every institution has put into preparing for what's to come. Some universities are offering face-to-face study. In some cases, they're offering online study for this first semester and review the situation at the end of the first semester. And in some cases, which is the most common, they're offering a mixture of the two. The factors helping them decide which is the preferred mode of study, subject mix, or location, or the space available, or indeed the numbers of students. And of course, if you think about it, certain subjects cannot easily be taught on a distance learning, blended learning basis. Engineering is an example that really lends itself to working and learning in workshops. Literature perhaps can equally be done face-to-face or indeed in a blended learning mode. Location. Some universities are based in city centres with not much space, and some universities are based in very rural locations with huge amount of space to spread everybody out. And of course, the numbers of students studying at that university is a factor too. The key objective of every university is to keep everyone safe. And I think that's worth bearing in mind all the time. What universities are trying to achieve is what they're calling the COVID secure campus. This, of course, is an aspiration. It's a difficult thing to achieve, but it's what they're aiming to achieve. And they're trying to achieve that through all the sorts of methods that we're probably experiencing in our own workplaces and indeed as we go about our own day-to-day lives. So, for example, social distancing requirements, hand washing at every opportunity, there'll be no large lectures, only small group work, reduced contact hours and a combination of blended learning, face coverings, staggered timetables, spreading out people across the whole campus as much as possible, seeking to achieve that COVID secure or COVID safe campus. Frequent cleaning, one-way systems, carefully managing social spaces, extending the day. So some people are perhaps in the first half of the day and other people in the second half of the day. Trying to reduce the number of people on campus, typically about 50% of the usual population is the target that they're aiming for. Use of more signage to explain how to go around the campus. And of course, much, much more depending on the campus. Of course, the COVID secure campus is an aspiration. It's something universities are working to achieve. And of course, much more use of technology. Universities are generally technology-rich environments, and they've worked hard in the last 6 months to use their technology to increase and enhance and indeed improve the student learning experience. So we'll see much more use of technology for larger classes. Large lecture theatres won't be filled with students. They'll be standing empty for probably at least the next year. Large group sessions will be done via a blended distance learning approach. For some one-to-one meetings indeed, which will work perfectly well. To help with things like the distribution of materials, to eliminate the need for people to queue and wait, for engagement, for social activities, researching, networking. Indeed, lots of aspects of university life can be done perfectly well in a blended and indeed using technology. If you're interested in a particular university, I would suggest you look at their website. University websites are very open about the steps they are taking to make their own campuses secure, COVID secure. And there's remarkably comprehensive amounts of information there. Please do have a look and see for yourselves. What about the student experience is a question that's often asked. Okay, a COVID secure campus, wearing masks, that might work for learning and studying, but how about relaxing and enjoying? After all, university is about both learning and studying and meeting new people and enjoying yourself as well? Are both still possible? Well, it's going to be different. It's going to be different for sure, but a huge amount of planning has gone into the academic and the social side of student life. It is still possible to have a socially distanced but rich student life as well as a rich academic experience. So, will there be COVID outbreaks? Of course there will. There are COVID outbreaks all over the place. In shops, in businesses, in workplaces, in homes. There will be COVID outbreaks, and indeed there have been some already this year. But of course, universities have very detailed plans for managing COVID, which range from localized isolation, which could be of a group of 6 or 10 or 15 people, down to, in extreme cases, switching all of their teaching back to online again. So they are very well prepared for a very wide range of circumstances and needs. The health and safety of students and staff is the factor that's uppermost in the minds of universities at all times, and that's combined with the ability to switch from face-to-face and to online learning and back again if necessary. This is what they've spent the last 6 months preparing for. In summary, challenge and opportunity. This will be a time of real challenge, but also a time of real opportunity. It's at times like this that all institutions take the opportunity to leap forward 10 or 15 years in their own learning. The university experience in 5 years' time will not be the same, even if COVID is gone, as the university experience was last year. The opportunity to enrich learning through the greater use of technology will be built and developed and taken further forward. So, thank you very much for listening. That's my final
Doctor, can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
How do you foresee the coming year changing due to COVID-19, and how will this affect international students?
Well, it's going to be a challenging year, I think, and I think I'd be an unwise man who predicted absolutely what might happen in the next year. I hope I've said that universities have spent a great deal of time and effort preparing for the future and protecting their students and their staff. And I think they will continue to operate either via face-to-face or via distance learning, protecting the integrity of the student experience, but also looking out for the health and the welfare of their students as well. It's going to be a challenging learning year, I think, for everybody, but I think universities are prepared well for what's to come.
All right. Can we go to our next speaker now? Mr. Dusty Amroliwala, CEO of VFS Global. Please go ahead.
Mahmood, thank you very much indeed. Can I just confirm with you that you're able now to see my slides after Trevor's?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, if I may, I'd like to pick up on the very first line of the introduction that you gave yourself, and Trevor has underlined the word that is, I think, the most important word in the context of the title of this webinar today, and that is the word opportunity. Academia and entry into academia is not only an opportunity, it's actually a privilege, and it's a rare privilege granted and allowed for to relatively few people around the world. But I would just say this, in the context of COVID and any other challenge that a young person, or indeed any other age person, faces when it comes to opportunity, and that is, opportunity has never been and will never be a stationary object. Opportunity is something which is very much mobile and often fast moving. And the reason that some people are benefits and beneficial from opportunity, and some people are less able to benefit from opportunity, is not because of the nature of the opportunity. It's because of the nature of their response to it. So I would say to everybody in a note of genuine urgency that don't see opportunity through the lens of the challenges and of the difficulties. See opportunity with the long sight, see opportunity with the perspective of where it is taking you in your life's journey. And then if you can at the same time, put both hands out, reach out and grab it. Let me start by saying, as well as thanking FLS for allowing us to be part of today's seminar, let me say a few words about VFS, only to give you some context, because we are asking, as we do to many students around the world in literally hundreds of thousands of numbers, we're asking you to trust us to do something very important. Because by the time you come to apply for a visa, you've made your application to university, and in the most part, if not in all cases, you've been accepted to study. You've got your qualifications in order, you've got your financing sorted out, and you're ready to go. And the only thing standing between you and a successful commencement of your studies is a university. Is a visa. And so it's absolutely essential that the visa application is done smoothly, effectively, and accurately so that it results in a positive outcome. And here VFS as a company has been doing this business for many years, and today processes something like 2.5 million visas every month, which is a huge number of applications. And these are the countries to whom we process our visas. And you'll see, regardless of almost anywhere where you could be choosing to study, whether it's the UK or North America or the European countries or Australia, New Zealand, we operate as client governments to all of those countries. And the footprint that we have around the world is a huge one, with over 3,500 offices now today across the world in over 148 different countries. So as a partner and as someone that you can trust to ensure that your visa application is dealt with accurately, swiftly, and in every way correctly, I hope that you take little persuading that VFS is the right partner to do business with. And we certainly would want to do business and provide our service to you. If I may, because there are so many different people who are on a webinar such as this, and they come from many different parts of the world. Sometimes they're logging in from, literally the 4 corners of the globe. I won't walk you through the whole of the map that I've just shown you and explain what is open and what is not open. Let me guide you instead to a really good resource for you, which is the VFS Global customer website. And I've left at the top of that slide in red an address which you should make a note of, even just if it's the opening part of the vfsglobal.com. And then if you look at the slide towards the bottom, there's a box to select from, the country that you're in and the country that you're going to. And if you select those 2 boxes, this website will automatically tell you which centers are open, if they're closed, how long they expect to be closed for, and when we expect them to open, because we are the front end of a government service. We are not the government itself, and clearly we have to be governed by what that country is telling us. So that is the box at the bottom of the page that you need to fill in. I know that some of you, perhaps many of you on this webinar, are in Bahrain, and let me tell you that I've already had a quick look about an hour or 2 ago, and that is the answer to the people that are applying from Bahrain to travel to the United Kingdom. That the visa center for the purposes of your visa applications is already and now currently open. And so you shouldn't feel in any way inhibited in completing your visa applications and coming forward with them. There is one key source that my team, which is the education vertical within VFS Global, our division provides to students, and we provide it on what I call an anywhere to anywhere basis. In other words, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, and it doesn't matter where you want to go in the world, as long as your reason for traveling is to study in higher education. And for you, we provide what we call a student visa support service. One of the many things that applicants find about filling in a visa application, such as a student application, is it is very complex. There are many, many forms. There are a great number of questions. There are a great number of check sheets. And there are huge numbers of opportunities to submit an application which contains errors, which is inaccurate. which is inconsistent, and which ultimately may find the applicant having what is known as a refusal. And our role is to ensure that any avoidable refusal is avoided. We take all the documents that you need for your visa application from you, and I'm not going to go through them, but you can see them on the blue band in that slide, whether it's identity, whether it's language, whether it's financial, whether it's to do with any element of this application. We take them all from you. We will deal with you in whatever form you are most comfortable with, whether it's by webinar, by email, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's Instagram. And within 3 business days, provided all the documents you send us are adequate and correct, within 3 business days, our pledge to you is that we will have a completed visa application ready for you to send, accurate as much as we possibly can make it. You must then submit it. You print what we send you as a PDF, you submit it, sign it, and your visa is then underway. And then we wait for the country, the government you're seeking to work with to reply. So the visa support service takes away all of the stress, all of the strain, all of the complexity from you and from the agents, your parents, your tutors and others that are trying to support you. And it puts it in the hand of a professional company that deals with about 36 million applications like this every year. So we know our business. Why do you go to university in the first place? Most of us who've been to university and most of you planning to go to university do so because at the end of the road, you're looking to enter the world of employment as a graduate. And one of the things that we have done in VFS is we've picked very carefully commercial partners who we have a very strong relationship with. And one of those partners is a company called Circus. What is Circus? The most simple way of describing it is an online portal platform that provides any international student studying in the UK with an opportunity to go into the website and find jobs which are available exclusively for international students, people who are not carrying a UK passport. But for those people who pass their degrees and then want to remain in the UK to study under the UK government's post-study work program. And the number of companies that are partnering with Circus are huge. The number of universities that are offering this as a free offer to its students are also significant. These are the universities who've already signed up and are providing all of their students with access 24/7 to Circus and the jobs that are on that platform. And as a student going to any of these universities, that would be part of what you would be receiving as a service from day one at that university. And if your university of choice is not there, don't despair, because we are widening this range of universities almost on a monthly basis. And the kinds of firms that you can expect to be seeing the jobs advertising, these are just a few, but they're household names. Siemens, McKinsey's, Rolls-Royce, KPMG, Ernst & Young, Deloitte's, a huge number, huge varieties. And some of the best jobs in the UK are advertised through these pages. So my earlier comment about opportunity is not simply about the opportunity to study at fabulous institutions, and FLS are great partners to be directing you to the right universities for the ambitions that you've got, but also remember that those ambitions need to convert into something concrete. And this is where one of our partnerships with Circus, in this instance, proves to be a vital link. And at the end of this, my section of speaking, I'm going to leave you with an email address for any of you who want to contact Circus directly to ask some questions about the post-study work and how to get the best jobs. Please do that. And the really great news is that Circus is just on the verge of expanding its service so that the jobs online are not just jobs in the UK, they're going to be jobs right across Europe and in countries like India, across the Middle East as well. So that students who study in the UK, who then decide they want to go home and find work, can also find great graduate entry-level jobs through the same pages. So do keep on looking out for that, and do contact Circus with your questions. And that is but one of a range of further services that we hope to provide for you in partnership with FLS as a part of your enhanced student experience by going to university in the UK. And I'm not going to go through all of these because most of you will recognize and know the value of having an instant access to a bank account on your arrival, credit cards, Forex, that kind of thing. But I do want to touch just briefly on the very first bullet there, which is 24/7 medical consultation. In the light of everything you heard Trevor saying, what is this consultation? Again, one of our partner companies is a company based in London who provides immediate 24/7 access to medical professionals, to doctors, regardless of your issue, whether it's to do with physical health or mental health, whether you're feeling unwell, whether you've got a rash, a bad headache, whether you're feeling anxious, stressed. The reason for calling is unnecessary. What is important is when you call the number you're given as a member of this service, you are immediately put through to a doctor, and that doctor will provide you with assistance in up to 15 different languages. Most Asian languages, Arabic, Chinese, are covered by the service. And it doesn't matter if you go home for your holidays or you go anywhere else in the world on your holiday, you're covered for the whole of the year that you subscribe to the service. And the outcome of that consultation would be just like the outcome of any consultation if you went to your doctor at home. You'd be sent to go for secondary opinion, to get x-rays, to get blood tests, to get any secondary diagnostics that are necessary. And all of that we provide for a student for $100 for a year's cover. And that is one, as I say, of many of the enhanced services that we provide. So when you are looking to partner and looking to decide what university of choice you want to make, and you're going with a company like FLS to do that, please always remember that it's not just about the choice of the university and going to that university. There are a great many things that FLS have been very keen to build as a package around that experience of going to university for the first time. And these are just some of those things that are part of that package. And I think in a time of crisis globally with the pandemic we face, then having access to a doctor 24/7 at 1 minute's notice to dial a telephone number and have a video consultation or a telephone consultation can be a massive reassurance to you as a student, to your parents and families back home as well. And the services that the education team are providing, these are the countries of applicants that we have had studying, going to the UK. Every single one of those countries, we've successfully created the visa application, and the applicant has successfully had a visa granted for those countries. Some of those countries, it can be quite tricky to make applications. Not all of those countries, in every single case, have got a VFS office. And again, we provide facilities where that is the case. But whether you're in Iran, all the way down to somewhere like Mauritius, we have already had success in every single one of those countries. And I'm just going to leave you with a couple of paragraphs to quickly cast your eye over and just look at. These are people at random who've simply written back to us, having had their visa application successfully come through. And the words that really, to me resonate as somebody who worked in the university and ran a large university in the last few years is in that top comment, the third line, where someone is saying that our services have helped fulfill a dream. And frankly, if you're in the business that any of us who are speaking today are in, if you can take a young man or woman and you can help them fulfill their dreams, then I think you're in the right business to be in. And finally, as a footnote, and again, referencing the climate that is the environment in which we're living in and the challenges that we face, I would just say this, that there are resources, there are places you can go, and there are people that you can speak to that can help you when you're feeling unsettled, unnerved, when you're feeling as if the decisions you're making in life, which are very big decisions, are difficult to make, and you're not quite sure, your motivation is perhaps questionable to yourself and to others. And to help with that, I have spent some time in the last year or so now running separate webinars. They're either 1 hour or 2 hour or 3 hour sessions, and they are very much focused on unlocking the power of the mind and ensuring that the stress that people feel that they can sometimes be under can be lifted. And instead of dreaming about the future, how do you actually turn that dream into the reality that you wish for? And again, not for today, but this is a taster at the end of what I'm going to say to you today. And FLS will come back to you, and there'll be more literature, more advertising around these webinars, which I'll be running. I'll deliberately time them like today's, during the periods where people can expect to be having some time off, spend an hour or so, have a conversation in a group environment, and turn what is sometimes simply a dream into something which is what I would call your new reality. For the purposes of this webinar, your new reality will be coming to the UK to study. I wish you all, those of you who are already on your way, and those of you who are still planning to come, every success in your study, and I'm delighted to have had the opportunity this afternoon to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. I'll take your questions, and I'll leave this slide up so that you've got my web contact details. Kainaz, who's my head of student services, who runs all of the day-to-day detailed business in the UK, who can answer any question you could possibly think of. She's listening to this webinar, she's on the webinar, and we'll hear your questions if you make them now. And also to Dhruv and to Tripti, who are the joint chief executives of Student Circus, who also are on this webinar. They too can be contacted at the address that you've got there. So Mahmood, I won't take any more of your time. Thank you very much indeed for allowing me to speak this afternoon.
Mr. Jassi, quickly, will international students benefit from work experience, the graduate scheme or post-study work?
I can answer that question in one word, and that word is undoubtedly. What I didn't say about Student Circus, and Student Circus is not unique in this, but it's a great way to find it, is that Student Circus jobs also offer students the chance to work with large and medium-sized companies during the period of their studies in placement programs and those sorts of schemes. At the end of the day, going to university for very, very few people is a means to an end. It's just one step in a life's journey. And internship programs, placement programs, and having real experience that can be put onto a CV alongside the practical experience of being at university undoubtedly will stand young students in a much better place when they make their real applications for jobs in the future. So I would say take as many opportunities as you possibly can to work with great companies, and all of that will help to shape your future.
Yeah, thank you, Dusty. Now we'll move to last speaker, Mr. Dylan Shah.
I think Vinod is speaking.
Yeah, I'll go next.
Vinod Shah, sorry.
No problem. Right, I hope you can see my slide.
Yeah.
So, good afternoon all. I'm the Commercial Director at FLS, Forward Learning Solutions. My experience in the international education sector spans 33 years and counting. In this time, I've crossed paths with tens of thousands of students in their respective course journeys. Most notably, I've helped design the Tier 4 CAS template at Kaplan, followed by international students as part of their visa process. Alongside this, I've headed the Tier 4 compliance team across Kaplan centers, a UK national role. I've successfully managed day-to-day on-campus student experience with collaborative university partnerships, these being University of Chester, Anglia Ruskin University, and University of Bedfordshire. I use my experience of 33 years to ensure at FLS, everything we do is compliant and transparent. Our relationships with our universities, our parents, and our learners is of trust, reliability, and above all, compliant. I'm just going to move on to the next slide. This graphic shows all the systems surrounding the student during their student experience. In our diagram, our focus is keeping the student in the center, in the green zone. In our experience, various factors such as accommodation, finance, and well-being all need to come together to keep the student in this zone. If there was a lapse in one of these systems, or the student is not compliant with the Tier 4 regulations, the student begins to venture out of the safe zone and into the orange, a space of insecurity. Here in the red, some serious, often unrepairable damage to the student experience, and black signifies the end of their study. Financial care is also important. For example, students need to be aware what other costs they will bear. Maintenance costs, food, travel. These are often left to the student to organize themselves. But again, without support, the student can find themselves distracted from their studies, worrying about finance, a position no parent wants for their child. Our network of student ambassadors can give that advice, advising them on where to shop, student discount schemes available, and of course, which budgeting methods work best for them. For students that are looking for an international education, it is about now you should begin that journey. We are receiving inquiries for January. Get in touch with us via our website. We thank you for allowing us to be part of your successful and exciting journey to the UK. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinod. Now we'll switch over to Mr. Dylan Shah.
Yeah, so I am a second year student at UCL. UCL is a really international university. I think more than half of our students are international, do not hold UK passports. I'm in my second year now, and I am at FLS as a student coordinator. So I speak to all of the students more or less on a level, and I coordinate their application, I coordinate visits for their universities, I ask any questions they have that maybe only a student would be able to answer. What I really want to speak to you guys about today is the social experience and the learning experience at university and how that might have changed during COVID. So starting off on the social side of things, every university will be the same here. There are thousands of clubs that you can pick from. There are anything from swimming to football on the sports side of things, but even societies where you geek out over coffee, or you learn about languages that you have some kind of interest in. And I'm currently the social secretary at UCL Taekwondo. These are just some pictures over the last few months of our training and our social events. So as social sec, I arrange events, I organize stuff like Zoom calls, and what I've noticed over the past couple of months is that there's been more turnout, there's been more people coming to these events from our club because they can join from literally anywhere across the world. They just need to log on to Zoom and they're there with all the rest of us in the team, compared to last year, where if we wanted to have an event, everyone would have to come to a certain place and everyone's taking different amounts of time to get there. It might be inaccessible. So from that perspective, getting people involved in our society is completely game changing to have everything online. Now, aside from that, we have still been doing training, and we've done a lot of this training online on Zoom. But as you can see in these pictures, we've been doing training in Regent's Park, Hyde Park, just around London. And it's beautiful. It's so much nicer than just staying in the same hall all the time. And it's definitely an opportunity that would not have come to us if not for the current pandemic. It definitely has its advantages in terms of creating a new way of doing things, a new way of functioning, and has even opened up things like remote memberships for clubs. So let me just move on to the learning experience really quickly. Now, naturally, it's very, very different given the situation you're in right now. But in terms of receiving support from the universities, students are in a better position than ever. Last year, if I had to go and speak to a lecturer or a secretary, I would be waiting in long lines for almost 30 minutes, very uncomfortable, not ideal. But now, if I want to speak to someone, it's a case of arranging a Zoom call and speaking to them online. There's no more crowded corridors. Everything is just more efficient and more organized. On this vein, you can have a student now in this current situation where they will study at a, say, university in London for an entire year while they're in their bedroom in Bahrain, say, for example. They will get that first year of their university experience without ever leaving their bedroom. And, you know, this is an opportunity that we have now, and we don't really know going forward if this will still be a thing. We would like to hope these changes could be implemented in the long term, but only time will tell. The pandemic has improved how these institutions function, especially on the learning side of things, on the academic side of things. There are more online resources, and everything seems to be more student-centric than it was before. And I don't think this will change. I think this evolution is here to stay. It's a kind of evolution away from the traditional norms and systems that have kind of governed how universities and institutions work. It's almost as if the education sector is moving to a new equilibrium. And like I said, we really hope that these changes will stay. But the pandemic has, you know, for all its downsides, actually opened up doors that have been glued shut for a very, very long time. So just to close off, do get in touch if you have any more questions. Vinod, on the next slide, there's a website. And yeah, someone from our team will be able to speak to you and we'll be able to answer any questions you have. So yeah, I hope that's been useful, but that is the student's experience from a student.
Dylan, can you please just touch upon how has the university's student well-being support systems changed in the light of the COVID-19?
That's interesting because well-being kind of consists of three main things, I think. I'd say one of them would be naturally medical care, but Dusty has already spoken about that. The other, I think, two main things that make up well-being as a body would be mental care and, again, this kind of social experience, because I mean, they're both two sides of the same coin. Now, in this in this changing tide where everything is moving online, we have, obviously, as Dusty said, the virtual consultants. You have a doctor on your phone, but you also have counseling sessions online. You can speak to a counselor from, again, I'll take my example as UCL. You can speak to a counselor online. It's the exact same thing as it was before, but you don't have to leave your bedroom. And same with meeting friends. If anything, it's easier to do so now than ever before. So from a student well-being point of view on this entire year coming, I think, yes, there are major changes to how things are handled. But ultimately, I don't think student well-being will suffer that much because of this pandemic.
All right. With this, I thank you all speakers, participants, invitees. Thanks, Mr. Vinod, from the FLS platform, organizing such an interesting webinar, very informative. And all speakers, they have, you know, shared their experience and shed light on all vital aspects. And I hope and I look forward to have such more interesting, interactive type of webinars or Zoom meetings for the benefit of the end users, who are called students and their parents. They are willing to move into their future, seeking future in the UK universities. Thank you very much from Bahrain, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much, sir. Just mute it.
Excellent. Good job.